We talk about why we have all these webinar series. It is definitely a pre-event for this Prism. So we want to get different experts and different leaders. Like today is Pri from different industry and topics to share the insights. And definitely for those who hold the PMP or PMI certificates, you are eligible for 1 PDO points. So let me share a little bit about today's speaker, which is Pri here. He is from India, and today his topic is from Scrum team to Agile Bionic Crews and how AI can help in redefining the agilities. And also I have shared a little bit of the QR code here. The QR code is the Prism 2025, and this year the theme is Bionic Age. And print will be available at the Prism 2025 as well. So feel free to scan the QR code to browse through more details.
So today, I would really like to take this opportunity to talk about the bionic aspects, right? Because I think the future is already knocking on our doors, right? And I don't want to make this just another talk on AI, and definitely not another Agile 101 conversation, right? So I've kind of created this as more as a strategic briefing, right, for those who see the cracks in the current Agile execution, right? And we are, I think most of us and most of the organization are sensing a need for revolution, right? I've been working with a lot of organizations, a lot of people, and one thing that I can guarantee, or at least tell with a lot of confidence, is that most of the Agile teams today aren't underperforming because of bad Scrum, but because most of them are underpowered, right? And today, with the onset of AI, we are stepping into a world where competitive edge is not merely about process anymore, right? It's about perception, right? So this is what I would like us to explore today, right? So how we move away from a human-only effort to a human and an AI synergy, right? So that's why I call it as a Scrum teams to the Agile Bionic Crew. Yeah, so that's what I would like to talk about today. As I was saying, so AI is here. AI has been here for a very long time, in fact, but it was in the last few years that AI has started momentum, right? And it is definitely, taking over almost all aspects, be it developer coffee conversations that we hear, or be it the mandate that is being talked about in boardrooms, right? It is here, but again, what I generally tend to see is, it has still been misunderstood. So it's more like, what is our AI strategy, right? We are starting off by saying, what is our AI strategy? So that basically is ending up with teams trying to use AI as a glorified assistant, right? I'm sure you have seen those signs, right? Backlogs keep growing, velocity reports are now more fancier, and it looks more like speedometers than the steering wheel that it was supposed to be, right? And even with all of these things, we are still missing the curve, right? Now, the idea here is, rather than trying to automate, use AI as an automation tool to automate our old ways of working, how about we start using AI to reimagine the newer ways of working, right? I'm saying we need to take a completely different approach. So to put it bluntly, right now, many of us are looking at AI as a solution, and then we are trying to see how do I retrofit this into what we are doing right now. But let's take a step back. Let's take a look at how we are functioning today. What are the problems that we have, and how AI can be a solution for the problems that we are facing currently. Yeah. So this is where I would really like us to start thinking about. Yeah. So before I do that, I have a quick question for you. Right? When you hear about the term AI, right, I just want to do a quick pulse check. So when I say AI, what comes to your mind? Right? So I have given 5 options like this. Like, is it an automation tool? Is it a thinking machine? Right? A decision-making assistant? Is it your learning companion? Right? Or you're not sure yet. Right? So if you could just use the chat and then put in what you think, what comes to your mind when you hear the term AI. Yeah, that would be very helpful. Assistant and learning, thinking buddy, an intern. It's something that I've also been talking about. An intern, of course, yes. Yeah, so as we can see, right now, we have differences of opinion, and I think it is good. It is not that we are trying to look for a single point solution, but no, unfortunately, even today in many organizations, we are not going down to this level of thinking. Many of us are still looking at it as automation tool, right? I hear about people talking about, hey, can we use AI to start writing our user stories? Can we start using AI to do the estimations for us? Can we use AI to write acceptance criteria for us, right? So we are still not moving away from whatever we are stuck with and not trying to move forward, right? So this is the reason why I'm saying my concern with AI is we are looking at it more as an automation tool, right? So we should stop doing it, is exactly my point. I'm pretty happy with most of the responses that I see here, wherein we are not talking about it just as an automation tool. Yes, it can do that, right? But I think that would be completely marginalizing the way we do the AI integration. So what is AI, right? So for me, what is AI? So how do I look at AI, right? So AI, it's something that can mimic human thinking by recognizing patterns and learning from data, right? So this is something that AI is. It doesn't think like us. It learns from what we feed it, right? Even though we are calling it as artificial intelligence, at least today, AI is not at a place where it can start thinking like us, right? So whatever is the data that we have fed it, right, that we literally call it as training your AI. So with whatever we have trained it, it can start identifying those patterns and then start generating some aspects around. It is still not thinking the way humans do. Yeah. So what do we see about AI? Examples are like a chatbot explaining probably a failed transaction in a bank, right? Or coming up with based on your spending patterns, coming up with a personalized saving tip. All right, or maybe on the back end, it could be like real-time fraud detection, right? If something is going on, do you see patterns of fraud, and how can we think about it upfront? Yeah. So, in short, AI, what can it do? It can understand language. It can make some amount of decisions, right? It can be used to predict outcomes, right? It can generate content, and of course, it can automate tasks, right? I do not want to marginalize automation of tasks, but that should not be our only goal, right? And when we talk about AI, right? So most of us have heard of ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT, DeepSeek, these are all pretty popular. And there's one kind of approach which is called as the generative AI. But is generative AI is the only form of AI? The answer is no, right? So generative AI that most of us are familiar with, right? So what does it do? It can create something new based on the learned data. It can paraphrase it, it can rephrase it, it can even tend to extrapolate it to some extent, right? So generative AI is being definitely used in many organizations to draft a customer support response, write product announcements, or summarize large volumes of customer feedback, right? In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday where they literally are using a generative AI to start having respond to phone calls, right? So based on the input that are coming in, they are able to predict what could be the problems, just like our first level customer support, right? So they're literally feeling, because a lot of people today, especially in the South Asian countries that I'm pretty familiar with, I know that when you go to an IVR, press 1 for this, 2 for this, 3 for this, it's kind of too impersonal. So they're trying to move it. You still want the automation, but with a human associate. So you can literally talk to people. If it's on WhatsApp, it's more like a video. You can talk to people, and then they're literally walking you through the various aspects, right? So they are experimenting with that. The other part, which many of the organizations are not talking about, is the predictive AI capability, right? Predictive AI. Things like, say if you go to, how can you forecast an outcome based on the past data, right? So now, somebody comes to your bank, they're trying to enter the loan thing. So based on that particular person's, the way they are interacting, can you predict the likelihood of the loan application itself? They completing the loan application, right? If not, how do you persuade them with real-time analytics to support them to take them through the end-to-end application, right? Or if you want to flag some kind of unusual spending patterns, again, more like a fraud detection, but from a end user perspective, right? Or if you're saying something changes, you might want to ask them, right? Or estimate the churn risk, the customers that would churn based on the data that we are seeing emerging, right? So generally, we need to start thinking about generative AI as well as predictive AI, because together, right, we need both of them. Both are powerful, but none of it works, right, if you have not fed it the right kind of data. Remember, they are not thinking on their own. They are working based on the data that we have provided, right? So how smart is AI, right? Now, at least today, we are talking about today, AI is emerging and fast. But today, how smart is AI? It's only as smart as the data that you feed it, right? So let's set the expectation, right? AI is not a sentient. It doesn't understand sarcasm. It doesn't understand your product vision. But if you give it clean contextual data, it can definitely generate content out of it, right? It could be in terms of, it can help you to create test cases, probably flag some kind of design inconsistencies, right? Suggest gaps in your roadmap and all of those things, right? So it can do it based on the data that we have provided. Now, what if the data that we have provided is not good? Let's say it is not complete, or there is a lot of bias in it. You will get garbage out. So I'm not sure how many of you are from the computer science engineering background, and from the old learning, because I think one of the first things that we were taught in computer science is garbage in, garbage out. I'm not sure how many of you remember that, right? So I think that is still applicable even with AI. If the data that you have fed is not good, do not expect AI to do magic, right? The data is biased or incomplete, right? And if you're applying it, and let's say if you're deployed it in a bank, it can misjudge credit worthiness of your customer, right? It can even flag false fraud attempts because the data that it was provided is not good, right? So AI is not really intelligence replacement. It has to be intelligence amplification. Intelligence is ours, and AI helps us to amplify that. Yeah. So think about it more as in terms of a support system that we are building, something that can help us improve our thinking, something that can help us visualize or see our blind spots. Yeah. So that's where AI has to come in. So as you can see, data is crucial, right? And even today, most of the strategies that people are talking about AI, we are still not talking about the data, right? We are talking about ChatGPT and saying like, hey, let's ask the ChatGPT saying, this is my domain, this is my product. Can you create a product vision for me? Of course it will, but how do you know that's the right vision, right? How do you know it is aligned, right? Because if you have not trained the AI model for your environment with the right kind of data, without bias, chances are it will keep telling you things very confidently, right? But it might actually take you into a trap, right? I'm not sure if any of you have had this things, right? Once when I was driving, we were actually going through we were a couple of friends and families, we were driving to a new destination altogether. And the Google map literally took us to a dead end, right? Where you could literally see that there is a huge gorge after that. And it kept saying, go straight for another 1 kilometer, right? Maps were bad. So we got stuck in a difficult place without even knowing what to do next, right? A deserted place, a lot of forest kind of a place that we got stuck in. So the same thing AI can do to you if you are not sure about the data that you need. But then luckily for us, right, we are still in the agile transformation world, right? So when you talk about agile, in most organizations, agile was not just a process change, right? It was a digital revolution, right? If you talk about banks, we started talking about how do you improve your internet banking capabilities? How do you improve your mobile banking app capabilities, right? And most of the aspects, even if you talk about cars, what is distinguishing one car manufacturer, a car from another product? It is possibly your advanced driver assistance systems and all of that stuff, right? So there's a lot of digital aspect that has come up because of the fact that we are looking for faster feedbacks and responding to change, right? So this is something that was happening as part of the agile transformation. So what happens is, right, agile did give us a mindset and tools to handle complexity, right? Ship value faster and respond to change, right? But what also happened to make all of this possible is physical work started moving to digital workflows, right? The initially any forms that we had to build has now become a screen, right? the process of building or doing the work has now become a backlog, right? So Agile just didn't change how teams deliver value. It changed where work is happening and how much of it is getting recovered as data. Yeah. So this is a reality. And for AI, if you were to compare it, for AI, data is the oil, right? So data is the oil, AI is your refinery, right? But today, unfortunately, what is happening is, even though we have created a lot of data, right? Even though we have plenty of data that is available with us, we do not have our ability to start channelizing those data, right? So analog workflow, digital footprints right now, right? But have we evolved enough capability to use these footprints, right? So I want you to imagine, right? Imagine when you're getting into your retrospectives that can connect pattern across all aspects of the team's working, right? When you're getting into the retro, you already know it is able to help you to connect, saying what are the challenges in people and interactions, what are the challenges in terms of the processes and tools that we are using, what are the challenges in terms of the engineering practices and the technology that we are using. Rather than imagine walking into a retrospective where the Scrum Master draws 3 columns, what went well, what didn't go well, and how can it be improved, and more than half of the people are quiet in that. Right? It makes no sense. But if you are sensing all of these patterns, and if you can start understanding why, imagine the power it could have. Right? So again, we are not talking about AI as Agile 2.0. It is about Agile with a second brain. Right? It's not just humans alone. We are getting a second brain in there. Right? So physical to digital, data explosion, and right, we have plenty of actionable data, yes, but no, we do not have the capability of tapping into it. And in many organizations, data are measured in terabytes and petabytes, right? So it's literally a tidal wave of signals. And it is humanly impossible for us to go through all of that stuff. And that's where AI actually comes in. So if you really look at it, AI is actually an extension, or it is the next evolution that you should see from an Agile perspective. Okay? No, you have the digital foundation now. So what do? You use it to improve ourselves, right? So it's a natural evolution that we are talking about, right? So that's the reason why we need to start thinking in terms of Scrum team to a Bionic crew, right? Bionic basically is a word which says there is biology, which is the human aspect, and the electronic part, right? So when they come together, this is what we generally talk about as bionic, right? So we have to talk about Bionic crew. And my job today is to quickly run you through what a Scrum team would look like when you start augmenting AI. Yeah. So let's start off with the product role, right? The silent superpower, the Bionic product role, right? So when you talk about product role, right? What do we generally think about, right? We think about product backlog, somebody who's writing user stories, somebody who's prioritizing the user stories, right? And if I were to ask developers, or that person who just doesn't let us do anything in peace, right? We do all the sprint planning, and then when we start implementing, this is the guy who comes in and then starts interrupting us, right? So now imagine you are able to go beyond dashboards, right? Dashboards is generally a term that I'm using. Like even a product backlog is visualized, in Jira, probably with all of those things in terms of boards or in terms of literal backlogs. So these are all there, and you're struggling with decision making, right? And some decisions are so late that it actually goes through, right? So now imagine if, as a product owner, you can think about your backlog not as a laundry list of all the things that we think we need to do, but more as a dynamic living map, right? Of risks, of dependencies, and even missed opportunities, right? So ignore it, don't think about it only as a set where all the work that needs to be done has been chunked in, but rather, it is a map, right? Now all we need is what? We need predictive models that can help us to do it, right? So can we use AI to spot patterns in, let's say, a user churn? Can we use AI to spot NPS scores either plummeting or going up, right? Can we simulate trade-offs between roadmap bets, right? Before it is costing us a sprint? Because right now, sprint is the our experimentation loop, right? In a sprint, you're expected to come up with a releasable increment, which you can get it reviewed with your stakeholders, your customers, right? And if they like it, we should be in a position to ship it, right? So that basically means your experimentation loop is your sprint duration. If it's a 2-week sprint, it takes 2 weeks to get feedback on your experiment that we are doing. Now, how about we can crash it down to probably a day or two, right? Give it the right set of data, look at the customer reactions that we have had so far, and then start looking at seeing, hey, is this the right thing to do? That basically means you are able to preempt quite a bit of those hypothesis validation much before, right? So chances are you can start forecasting on which feature are more likely to under-deliver based on the past customer outcomes and even the effort and quality ratio, right? You imagine this, you can imagine the power that we are getting into, right? Based on what has happened in the past, how likely is this particular feature to under-deliver or hit the right tones, right? So this is what we are talking about. So we are talking about a product owner who's moving away from, let's say, a reactive backlog refinement to more of a proactive portfolio navigation, right? From just managing scope to optimizing the value flow, right? And the best part is you're not waiting for your business analyst to give you the data, or from the BI teams also, right? That's what the product owners usually rely on, right? Hey, I need this. Then they go to the research, they come up with a report, right? But now you're talking about real-time ability of the product owner to figure out what could work, what needn't work. Again, it's a hypothesis, but better decision making, right? Which hypothesis to run now versus what can I run a little later, right? So what is happening is the product owner starts conversing with foresight, right? Based on the thing, this is what we are, this is our foresight, and this is what we believe. Imagine the shift in the conversation between the product owner and the stakeholders, product owner and the developers, and probably even with the customers. Imagining how easy is this to push back on the stakeholder who says, I don't care how, but I want this requirement to be implemented. You have enough data to push back there, right? That's from a predictive capability, right? So you can simulate trade-offs, you can forecast outcomes, you can detect customer signals, prioritize customer signals. So we are literally moving away from a gut-driven roadmap to a data-informed prioritization and smarter products. Yeah. So this is from the predictability. Now, when you look at it from the generative capability, right? What can you do? Now, you're not too worried about who's going to write the user story. Huh? Anybody could write the user story, which is possible even today with just Scrum. But imagine, if you're able to literally give your AI tool the product goal, right? And then probably ask it to churn out user stories for a particular classification of your customer. For this particular target customer, with this particular intent of the product, what kind of requirements do we think they are going to do? Imagine that, right? So you can explore things faster, right? You could even go down to the level of saying draft 3 feature concept for Gen Z user based on our current product vision. Imagine that, right? Then you can summarize noise. Now imagine there's a lot of feedback that we get, right? Imagine if you have an app and you go to the app store, there are tons and tons of customer feedback. Now how do you look for patterns in that? How do you see a trend? Are customers happy? Are customers, right? We talked about sentiment analysis before, but it was again a lot of manual aspect. Now imagine dumping all these feedback into one location and say, hey, spot trends, right? Don't you think that's going to be amazing, right? So that gives you a lot of feedback. That gives you insights into, even though this was my product goal and this is how I was thinking, the reality is something completely different. It again helps you to build the right product, right? It can reframe opportunity, right? You can synthesize stakeholder intent to products. When a stakeholder comes and says, I want this particular thing to be implemented, right? Generate 2 value-focused reframing of the stakeholder X's feature request, right? How does it translate into value rather than just a feature, right? So this is the power that the generative AI gives you when you're trying to deal with it, right? So literally, even when you're talking about AI, and even if you're looking at AI as a tool, there still would be a mindset shift that you will have to start thinking about, right? Because this is again going to be a transformation that will unlock everything, right? So traditional product owner gathering requirements, writing stories, to bionic product owners who are detecting patterns and simulating outcomes, right? Traditional product owner focusing on deliveries, right? Hey, what should I build and when should I build? By when should I build, right? So what are bionic product owners going to do? They're going to focus on strategic bets and adaptive learning, right? So what I'm saying is, no, rather than just prioritizing features, no, start prioritizing the potential of your product, right? Don't report on burnups and all of that stuff. Rather, test your foresight, right? Use or even AI can literally automate the burnups and the burndowns for you already, right? Tools are already doing it, but you can take it one step further with better visualization and all of that stuff, right? So there is a mindset evolution from a requirements management delivery focus to a value, for a better word, a stewardship, right? You're more like a steward who's driving the value in the right direction, right? So from a backlog manager to more of a signal synthesizer or insight amplifier, right? And even a risk navigator for that, right? So this shift does not make you better at Agile. It makes you, right, indispensable in the AI age, because you're using the capability of AI to do that, right? Because I think the future is going to be bionic, right? At least for some foreseeable future. Yeah. Similarly, the Scrum Master, right? The Scrum Master also has to change, right? So we have all heard of the cliche servant leader, right? Now, I want you to know why it is still, from a capability perspective, it still remains. What I'm trying to point at is the servant leader basically meant Scrum Master is always in the back. He does not make decisions. They just ask questions and all of that stuff, right? AI is a great opportunity for us to redefine Scrum Master and Agile leadership, right? We start focusing on becoming system architects of agility, right? Someone who does not just protects the process, but somebody who is engineering the flow of work, right? So you can actually use predictive AI to turn a lot of those invisible data into insights. Now, let's say Scrum Guide clearly states that as a Scrum Master, your job is to build a effective Scrum team, right? So now think about it, right? When you start seeing your lead time for tickets spiking, right? That's not necessarily only a delay, right? That's a signal. There's a story behind it, right? I generally call about it as it's your system whispering to you about something that is off at a deeper level, right? Maybe it is too much of work in progress, right? Maybe the story slice, right, is just not accurate or just completely out of sync, right? So as a bionic Scrum Master, we will be able to start seeing this as insights. Earlier, the only question is, in the retrospective, why is our lead time increasing? What can we do about it? But how do you connect it back to probably the deeper issues, system issues, too much of work in progress, right? So things like that. So these are things that we believe is there at the end of the sprint, there's an incomplete increment, right? So is that a signal of no lack of understanding of our definition of that, right? Or by having a lot of those undone works coming up, how is our quality depth and our technical depth increasing, right? Or have you even standardized technical depth, right? You can start seeing patterns in retros, right? People who were engaging earlier are right now starting to disengage. So there's an emotional plateau that you're seeing, right? So before cynicism steeps into your teams, how can you spot that, right? So I'm not talking about AI as a process enabler or process creator. It has to be a proactive. It should help me as a Scrum Master to be proactive and possibly precision coaching, right? So faster delivery, yes, we want that, but it is also about sustainable and value-aligned delivery, right? So this is where a predictive AI capability can help the Scrum Master, right? Like as I was saying, it can flag flow decays, delivery drifts, or stagnation, right? It can map sprint trends against product goals. It can spot test instability, rework patterns, right? Why are we reworking in one area for a long time? Is it because we are ignoring technical debt, right? Or how much of code is churning every few, for in every sprint? very, very deep insights, which kind of helps you to guide the Scrum team. It's not that we are going to use it to improve ourselves, but our job of helping build a hyper-performing Scrum team can be accomplished by all of this data, which could generally be invisible or ignored. Right? Similarly, when you look at it from a generative perspective, right? This is a scalable facilitation. Today, we struggle with remote facilitation, right? Because remote facilitation is a completely new skill that we have to do. Because unlike when we are all in the same room, you're getting a lot of visual feedback and visual cues, right? As a facilitator, remote is very difficult, right? You only see the face and maybe up to the chest of that person. You're not seeing if they are fidgeting or if they are disengaged or anything. So it needs something different. So when you talk about facilitation, remote and scaling it, right? And when I say scaling it, it is about imagine distilling 5 retrospectives into a theme map, right? This is what we have seen in the last 5 metros, and this is a common theme that we see emerging, right? Or you're getting into the sprint review, you are able to help the product owner or the developers in this case drafting sprint review narratives, right? So wherein you're not just talking about what we did, but why it matters to the users, right? Or imagine you are able to refine your checklists, right? There are so many checklists that we use, right? So imagine refining the checklists, right? Based on all these patterns, how can you do it, right? So from a simple facilitator of events who is sending out meeting invites, booking conference rooms, to a strategic convener, right? Someone who is using data as a lever to clarify the work that needs to be done, align people to the work that needs to be done, and evolve as a team, right? So it's more like an organizational change agent, supported with the AI magic wand, right? So again, I'm not saying that it is going to replace your judgment. It is going to augment your articulation. How can I help my stakeholder understand why not attending the daily Scrum is important? Many Scrum Masters today struggle to have this conversation. And how does this struggle come up? They all come back and say, hey, you know what? Agile failed in my team or in my organization because of a lack of leadership or management support. When in reality, it was not managements were pushing back because they didn't understand the value in what we are doing. Now imagine you're able to articulate it better. Yeah. So this is where the generative AI power of AI comes in. Imagine you're able to understand, do better empathy maps, better connect with your stakeholders as in product owners, a stakeholder for the Scrum Master, developers are, the other departments are, right? So imagine you're able to better articulate, right? This is what will help you to become the change agent the Scrum Master was always supposed to have. Yeah. So this is how we have to start thinking about the generative AI. Then, the mindset shift, again, it's the same. Just like how there's a mindset shift in a product owner, there will be a mindset shift even for a Scrum Master, right? So, we just saw, that there is power in the how, right? But this is also about, this slide is specifically put in to talk about the who part, right? So a Scrum Master, a Bionic Scrum Master, isn't just using tools, right? AI as a tool, but they are redefining their identity in the system. A great opportunity. Like, this is not something new that I'm talking about. Scrum Master was supposed to be the change agent, but we know they have become a glorified secretaries in most of the cases. There's a great opportunity to use AI to start redefining our identities, right? Most of the traditional Scrum Masters are forced into reactive postures, right? Enforcing ceremonies or monitoring those rituals, shielding teams from distractions. Noble, probably. Outcome, very, very limited, right? So Bionic Scrum Masters can orchestrate these systems, not just the schedules, right? So they are not going to wait for problems, but they are able to scan for patterns, right? They don't remove impediments only when they are raised, right? They literally model the environment where impediments are highlighted to the right audiences at the right time so that they can start taking actions on their own, right? So you're moving away from a team's bodyguard to more of a team's capability architect. You don't have to protect them. Developers are also knowledge workers. They are really good at what they do, right? Help them do their accountability, live up to their accountabilities, right? So traditional Scrum Masters facilitated agility, right? Bionic Scrum Masters can engineer agility, literally become the powerful change agents that they were supposed to. Yeah. So this is where the shift in the Scrum Master should also come. Right? Now, the third role that we talk about, the accountability that we talk about, developers, right? So developers have always been builders, right? But when you talk about a bionic developer, right, a bionic crew, what are they? Now they are becoming what I call as the designers of possibility, right? So just to break this down, right? Developers traditionally, what do you see the developers do? They're juggling complexity, right? They're struggling against changing requirements and brittle systems that we have, right? But when you start thinking in terms of applying AI, right? So predictive AI, what will it help to do? That'll help you to sense the complexity, right? Generative AI, they can code collaboratively, and to some extent, you can actually use AI to start writing the code for you, right? But imagine, while that is a possibility, and I think it will happen sometime soon, think about it, a machine that is proposing edge cases, right? It can write your tests. No scaffolding of the test can be done, right? It can anticipate refactoring needs. Imagine the power that it gives the developers, right? So AI should not be thought about as something that you're automating the developers, but we are evolving the act of development, right? So we are not going to be firefighting defects. We are going to fireproof our code base, right? So from committing code to creating quality, right? So I'm not talking about this using, let's say, a co-pilot or a chat GPT as autopilot, but augmented craftsmanship, right? High performing teams, right? But aided with the insights that is needed from teams that are there, right? So imagine you can increase your quality quality, and that too without delaying, right? You're secure by design, right? You're looking at flow protection, right? Where are the handoffs coming? Where are the delays coming in? Is there a lot of work fragmentation? How do you fix that, right? And even the domain context, right? Imagine, you're looking at the product, you're looking at the code, and you're struggling. Why did somebody even do something like this, right? Because you cannot look at the entire code base to get it. But imagine if an AI can summarize the relevant design history or the business logic for you. Imagine your ability to write better quality code, right? So a lot of things that comes even from a development perspective. This is more from your existing stuff, but imagine, right? Engineering practices, right? Because this is where we all understand that the real magic happens, right? So it's not just about helping you with writing code. AI will be able to elevate the way code is built, tested, and probably evolved, right? Imagine TDD, right? What is it doing? AI generating test cases from acceptance criteria instantly, right? Highlighting any untestable design before you even start writing code, right? Pair programming. Now you don't even have to depend on another individual to be your pair. You can actually use AI as your pair, right? It is and again, AI becomes a non-judgmental partner. One thing that many developers struggle with, pair programming or mob programming for that matter, is when I write code, another guy is looking over my shoulder. I'm not sure what he's thinking about me, right? Humans generally tend to get judgmental, but imagine AI as a non-judgmental partner, right? Who's suggesting upgrades, who's listening, right? Who's helping you to draft quality, in the background, right? CI/CD. Imagine it is able to spot a flaky test, right? Something that it can detect. Let's say it is a commit pattern. How the way we are committing code, it starts to show you the patterns which can impact your deployment stability. Right? So when you start looking at it, this is how the shifts are happening in these cases, right? So the Bionic developer, will be able to use AI to push engineering practices to a level where quality is systemic, right? A built-in quality or a thought-through process rather than an afterthought or a heroic attempt, right? Where the testers and developers are working late evenings, weekends towards the end of the release to try and build quality in, right? So we are moving from firefighting to a flow of fire, right? From move fast and break things to move smart and evolve everything, right? Be it code, the test, the design, the architecture, no? Your flow, right? So this is what we need to keep in mind. The developers are also making a shift, right? So this is where, before I come to this, so this is where the bionic aspect has to come in. So AI as not as a crutch that is being used, but more as a support system, right? Which accelerates our thinking and working, right? Helping us make better designs, right? This should be the future of the AI in Agile part, right? So this is how I believe the shift should be. But unfortunately, is this what we see? Probably not, right? My worst worry, and this is what I keep talking about in my LinkedIn posts and in every webinar that I do, right? AI is being misused in Agile. People are talking about auto prioritization of backlog without team conversation. This was waterfall. We used to call it as you're defining the scopes up front, right? People talk about generating sprint plans from the sprint capacity and story points. Now, story points has no meaning if people are not involved, right? But this is what we did in waterfall, right? We created detailed schedules. Remember those project plans and the Gantt charts and all of that stuff that we used to create. Now we are automating it, right? Then people talk about predict delivery using historical velocity. We used to do that in waterfall, estimating timelines with PERT. This is what we did in waterfall. Now, what are we doing? We are using AI to automate that, right? Then people say, let's use AI to flag story slippage like a risk register. Dude, complex work, more unknowns than knowns. Slippage is not even a concept that we talk about because we know all our estimations are wrong. So what are we trying to do here? From a waterfall mentality, we are trying to control deviations from the plan, right? When we say AI prioritize backlog as unchallengeable because AI said it, so we have to do it. That is centralized change control, right? And we are saying success is AI forecast accuracy. How does it matter if AI forecasted thing, because if you have not delivered the right product, what use is your accuracy, right? So this is your plan adherence in the waterfall world. Now, this is what scares me because this is what most of the conversations I see in teams and organizations, and most of the sales pitch of AI in Agile seems to be around the things that you see on the left, which is literally automating waterfall, right? So now suddenly teams will start executing faster, but they're not thinking smarter, right? So what is happening? You're thinking about a velocity theater. So you didn't evolve your Agile, you just rebranded waterfall. You automated your waterfall with AI, right? We are actually degrading ourselves and we are going back into history. We had waterfall, which was meant for repeatable, predictable work, simple work, great. We said, no, product development is complex, very different from this. So waterfall will not work here. So we need Agile ways of working. And now with AI coming in, we are again trying to go back to what we have been trying to avoid, right? So if you continue doing that, you're resurrecting waterfall with neural networks, right? So, I want this slide or I want this conversation to be a wake-up call, right? Too many AI augmented Agile transformation that we talk about. Tools got smarter, process got louder, right? With a lot of dashboards, a lot of reports, but the thinking, it is sliding back into waterfall, right? So look at the previous list that I was showing, right? It is auto prioritizing, defining scope up front, right? Please make sure whenever you are doing AI in your organization or in your team, please think back and see you're not automating waterfall anymore. Yeah. So a quick compression of what we discussed. PO, accountability is maximizing product value and owns the product backlog. traditionally what we seen, traditional framing of product owner was prioritizes features. Bionic upgrade, shaping bet and validating value, right? Scrum Master, enable Scrum teams effectiveness, remove impediments, uphold Scrum. But traditional framing was what? Facilitate event. Now, coach systems. How? By pattern detection and stuff, right? And then the developers, they were expected to develop value in every sprint. Now they are engineering entire systems, right? So this is what, a role by role transformation should happen when you're talking about AI. Yeah. And will AI replace your agile teams? I don't think so, at least not yet, right? The rate at which AI is improving. No, there are people who believe AI will leave the entire humankind jobless, right? I'm not sure that is going to really happen, because if AI is building the product and if AI is using the product, where do we fit in, right? So I don't know about that. So I even wrote a LinkedIn post sometime back saying that maybe we should all go back to farming if AI does whatever people are predicting that it will do, right? So, but a bionic team, who can think faster, see deeper, and adapt smarter, will definitely replace those Scrum teams which are not up to the mark at this point. Yeah. So AI will definitely change the landscape, right? So hopefully with this particular conversation, I'm hoping I've been able to give you a sense of what is possible, right? So we have felt the shift from agile as a process to more as agility as a perception. I hope that's what I was trying to do here, right? So the real question is, so what's next, right? So what happens when you leave this webinar and go back, right? When I close this deck and we have all signed up, right? So 3 things that I would really like to do, right? Start with one AI-powered question in your next Scrum events, right? Whether it is, what trends do we see across our last 5 sprints? Or which backlog item has the highest risk-reward ratio based on the feature usage data that we have, right? So start using AI as a amplifier, right? Or amplifier of your decision making, right? Start thinking about how can you reframe your roles in your own organization, right? Don't jump to automating tasks. Think in terms of augmenting the thinking that is, right? Product owner becoming signal interpreters, Scrum Masters becoming system architects, developers becoming creative engineers, right? So so how can I use AI to see what I can, what I couldn't see before? Could be a question that I might ask, right? And as somebody said, don't implement AI, onboard it, right? You have to onboard AI as a team member, maybe as an intern, because there's a lot of training that it needs, right? You have to train it on your industry data, you have to train it on your product data, your organization data, your compliance and your governance data, the risk data, right? It has to learn from all of these things. So there's an onboarding aspect that will be there. So think about how can you onboard AI as a team member so that you can train it, reflect with it and adjust, right? So don't look at AI as a plugin, but as a partner in perception, right? So AI, I still don't believe is the end of Agile. I think it's the beginning of Agile intelligence, right? AI does not have to be artificial intelligence. It can also be Agile intelligence, right? So the teams won't just be faster, right? They'll also learn and evolve also faster. Yeah. So this is what I'm hoping, we will have a takeaway from this particular. How about business analyst role, traditional versus bionic BA? I didn't get into all the possible roles that are there in an organization. Because even today, even without AI, for me, a business analyst is a group, is a role or is a group of people who are helping your product owner make better decisions, right? So imagine you have a product which, let's say you have thousands of customers and you're in multiple markets with a lot of competitors. You cannot expect one product owner to do all the market research, competitor analysis, sentiment analysis on its own to go back and then prioritize your backlog, right? So product owner will rely on the business analysts who are doing this research work for them to get in the right kind of input so that you can start ordering the backlog, right? So for me, a BA is again a support system for the product team. Yeah. So will they be using it? I'm saying yes. No, whatever I said in terms of product owner doing it, my feedback to you would be, think about it as, no, the places where you're doing a lot of research and all of that stuff. No, if the BA is helping the product owner, how can BA use the things the way we talked about Bionic? But a leader is resistant to AI. Would it not be complicated? Yes. But no, what I also see as an opportunity, as I was telling you a little earlier, right? AI can help us unlock our communication skills also, right? The way we are presenting data, right? So now I don't see any leader who's going to get in the way of saying, like, no, don't deliver faster, don't speed up your revenue cycles, don't speed up your value proposition, right? No, a leader is going to stop you from doing it, provided we are able to articulate it the right way, right? So again, even with the Agile or with AI, I really do not believe that leaders resist because they want to resist it, but rather they resist it because they don't understand it. And as Scrum Masters and change agents, we did a miserable job of helping them connect, right? As Christian said, sell the benefits, right? Talk about the problems that we have and how these are going to solve their problems. Don't tell them you need to come and attend a sprint review, or no, we are doing daily Scrum, we are doing user stories. Nobody is interested in the how part of it. Tell me the why part of it. Yeah, what's in it for them, right? How does it help improve the business? How does it reduce your time to market? How does it improve your ability to innovate? How does it increase the customer satisfaction? How does it improve the employee engagement? That's what you would need to help them to understand.
Yes, hi, Preet. Thanks for sharing today. I have a question regarding the mindset shift you mentioned as a Scrum Master, right? You mentioned that one of the things is surfacing the invisible blockers across workflows. I'm just curious, like, this sounds really challenging to me, right? Because in terms of workflows, you have to feed in a lot of data in terms of, I understand asking it to come up with test cases, things like that. You can feed in data and it comes out. But in terms of workflow, it literally means that you have to put your entire organization workflow into the AI or integrate with the software. I just want to know what's your thought on this, and maybe what kind of software or what direction. Thank you.
I don't have a specific recommendation of software, but if you're thinking about the workflow, I would again say start small, right? If you're thinking about one product line, right? If you have identified a value stream, start with a value stream, right? Start with one value stream and then probably move on to the other aspects of it, right? So I think the moment you start looking at AI as a transformation, the strategies that we follow can again fall back to what we have done with Agile, right? You could apply probably your John Potter's 8-step model or Scaled Agile Framework 12-step implementation roadmap. Again, where we are all saying is identify the area where we think it is. There are thousands of AI products that are available in the market, right? So you might need an AI to tell you what kind of AI tools are available for you to use for the specific problems that you're running into, right? So the reason why I talk about visualizing it and bringing it up front is because if you're not able to see it, going back to your lean or the Kanban approach, right? Until you visualize, how do we know where the bottlenecks are, right? You see the symptom, but how do you connect it back to the underlying cause, right? So that's where. So you could start with one team, you could start with one product, or you could start with one value stream, right? And then learn from it, and then that can be blown up into the other parts. So again, because I think we are going to run into a lot of challenges, because it's not just from a workflow does not stop only with the way of working, right? The way of thinking, the way of measuring, everything has to be visualized, right? So goal setting, the KPIs that we are using, the performance metrics that we are using, everything has to come under the focus. Only then can you build a complete them, right? Otherwise, just like how many Scrum and Agile implementations are struggling, not because of the framework, but because of your organizational structures, organizational policies, right? We still have many organizations doing individual performance appraisal. And on the Scrum side, we are saying, no, work together as a team, right? But you don't have those No, you don't have those kind of policies that help you to build collaborative teams. All the policies are competitive in nature. Now, when you say a leader is resisting it, if you need the leader to understand the systemic cause of not succeeding with Scrum, you would still need no visualization coming up with AI, right? And AI kind of helps you to summarize it and translate it in a much better manner. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not, right? We'll have to put a lot of thought into where we are going to start, how we are going to start, what tools are we going to use. But I think that's where the role of the Scrum Masters and the other change agents who are already there, we'll need to start thinking about. Right? And it's going to be different for every team and every organization as well. Right? So I don't see there is going to be a common stuff. Challenge, yes. Something that we have to work on. I still believe, yes, that's what we will have to do. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have a very straightforward answer to it because I think it is that complex to deal with.
Yeah.
So yeah, for those who are PMI or PMP certificate holder, you want to claim your PDO points, so you can screenshot of this so that you can know what is the next step. But if you miss this, no worries, we will still send the thank you email. And in the thank you email, we will also mention the wow events that we keep mentioned here is the Prism 2025. So if you love Preps topics, you would like to hear more, we have more interesting topic at Prism. So scan this website, the QR code, and you can browse more details. And if anything, you can reach out to me or to the team. And yeah, the Prism ticket is HRD claimable. So bring more people, you can claim the HRD fund, okay? So thank you so much, everyone.